Hey, what you reading for?
Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about books, literary, horror classics, and contemporary. I have a keen interest in literature from around the world. Books allow me to travel, to discover different cultures, different ways of thinking, and allow me to see things from different perspectives. And I like it dark. The more disturbing, the better. That's what I say. So when I was looking around for a disturbing book to get my next fix of the dark, and I came across a novella from an Iranian writer, I was all in. Iranian writer or Persian writer? We'll get to that at the end of the video. I have some questions. If you're new to this channel, thank you for stopping by. I do hope you enjoy the content. Do hit that subscribe button while you are here. I put out about 2 or 3 videos a week, and every few weeks or so I make an attempt to find the most disturbing book I can get my hands on, and I come on here and tell you about my experience. For this latest attempt, I read The Blind Owl by Sadegh Hedayat. And I had quite a wild experience with this work, ranging the full spectrum from this is nonsense, melodramatic, self-absorbed, brooding, and it's hateful and angry and misogynistic, to, well, that's interesting. Let me have a closer look. If you are familiar with this work, and like many readers, you found it to be a great and important work of literature, dark and beautiful, intriguing, compelling, you may not like what I have to say about it, but I would encourage you to stay with me. Like I said, my experience with this work took me down several different and sometimes contradictory paths. There is a lot to unpack here. The Blind Owl was published in 1938. It is now a work in the public domain, so I have included a link to a free PDF in the description box in case you want to take a look at this work for yourself. The PDF contains a short biography of Sadegh Hedayat, the novella, which is around 100 pages or so, and it's followed by a few scholarly articles, literary critiques about the work. And the PDF that I've linked to, that's the version that I read of it, and I read it all bio, novella, scholarly articles in that order. The bio portrays the writer Sadegh Hedayat as a very unhappy man. He was born to an aristocratic family. He received a Western education and bounced around subjects of interest from maths to French. And at an early age, he kind of broke away from his family. He wanted to forge his own path. So in his early 20s, he took an interest in spirituality, Zoroastrianism and Buddhism, notably. And that's when he made his first attempts at writing. He moved to Belgium, where he studied engineering, gave it up, moved to Paris to study architecture, gave it up, and then he went about traveling to see the sights. So the bio portrays this writer as a man with no strong familial ties, and who's a bit rudderless and without direction, and very, very unhappy. When he returned to Paris in 1927, he attempted to take his own life. An unsuccessful attempt, obviously, thankfully. And this is when his writing took on quite a dark tone. He had a fascination with death, his own death especially. He got heavy into Buddhism. He became a vegetarian. He returned to his native Tehran, started working at a bank, and then got heavy into Iranian nationalism, which was opposed to the ruling dynasty and to the opposed to the Mongol and Arab and Islamic influences that the country was experiencing. And this Iranian nationalism heavily influenced his writing at that time, and he feared censorship or worse. So he moved to India, where he would stay for 4 years and where he would write his masterpiece, The Blind Owl. He would then return to Paris, where he would take his own life in 1951. So the bio depicts a writer who was very, very sad, morose, frustrated with his perceived lack of talent, frustrated with the direction he perceived his homeland going in, addicted to opium, and with a morbid fascination for death. So having read the bio first, I feel that it influenced the way I read the novella. I didn't intend for it to, but I think that it did. Because the novella is a first-person narration of a man who does not like other people. He wants to be left alone, and he wants to tell a story to his shadow so that his shadow will understand him. To an extent, The Blind Owl is a narrator, is the narration of a story to the narrator's shadow. I did not react well to the opening. I was expecting high literary quality because I knew that this novella is widely studied in schools and is widely taught and parsed and critiqued by scholars. So I was expecting some literary flair or mastery of the craft, but I was not impressed by the writing, if I'm being honest. It struck me as a bit juvenile, self-absorbed, brooding. Woe is me, it's so painful to be alive. No one understands my pain. Right? With Morrissey playing in the background, right? I have nothing against Morrissey. I actually don't even know him or his music. I just know the caricature, that how his music is associated with the self-absorbed, brooding teen. It's an old reference. I'm an old man. And even though I don't know, I know next to nothing about Morrissey, I know even less about current pop music. But I think you get what I'm going for. There's one line which I feel encapsulates best the overall tone of the piece. The line is, quote, "If there is any truth in the saying that everyone is assigned a star in the sky, my star must be remote, dull, and insignificant. Perhaps I never had a star." Now, I don't know what you think of that line. Perhaps it's not so bad on its own. But after pages and pages of the narrator's self-absorbed moaning, I didn't react well to the opening. So I'm reading this novella. It's not really doing much for me. And then a woman shows up. So he kills her and he buries the body. And I'm thinking, okay, all right. So now we're getting somewhere. Now it's getting interesting, right? We make a hard cut to the second part of the novella, where the self-absorbed narration is cranked to 11. Another woman shows up, who is probably the same woman as the first woman. He kills her too. There's quite a bit of opium consumed. There are some references to impotence. There's a lot of anger and sexual frustration. He has a wife who he's frustrated because he desires her, but she will not satisfy him sexually. He claims she will not even touch him and that they never consummated their marriage. He does not call her his wife. He refers to her as my wife the whore, or the whore that is my wife, always. It's angry and hateful and ugly, and it did not play well on me. There's a lot of ugliness with him playing the victim and blaming his wife for all his woes. Had it been a longer work, I would have DNF'd it, but it's a short novella, so I plowed ahead. And when I finished, I'm not impressed. Then I read the literary critiques, articles from scholars to see what they got out of the work that I missed. And apparently I missed a lot. From the scholarly article, short extract, quote, sensitive to the social problems of his time, aware of the need to speak up for his generation, and cognizant that all literary activities are closely monitored, Hedayat wraps his indelible message in ancient Indian traditions normally unknown to Muslim Iranians, or to atheist French Americans for that matter. In order to discover the message of the blind owl, one has to dig quite deeply into ancient Indian religious tradition and Tibetan Buddhist teachings. Okay, well, let's start digging, yeah? And the scholar goes on to give an interview or an overview of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which I found quite fascinating. It casts the novella in a completely different light. I think I might have had a better, more enriching experience had I read those scholarly articles first before trying to tackle the novella. I get the sense that the novella is meant to be studied more so than read or given a cursory read in a few hours. While I didn't get much out of the read, I do think that I would get something out of it if I were to study it, especially if I were interested in Buddhism or spirituality, death, and that sort of thing. I can see that approach being rewarding. I do also believe that two things can be true at the same time. While with the benefits of the literary critiques, I can see how, yes, the woman represents desire and the frustrations at not being able to shed the desire, which is the goal of Buddhism in a nutshell. But I also believe that the writer is expressing some troubling hatred of women, blaming them for his urges, blaming them for not satisfying them. And we can't look past that. It's ugly. Was the blind owl disturbing? I did not find it disturbing. No, I found it hateful and angry and ugly, but not disturbing, no. For me, the kinds of works that are going to disturb me are those that manage to awaken or identify troubling urges or preoccupations inside me. Works that get me to doubt my own sanity or question my control over dark impulses that I might not even be aware threaten to influence me. The Blind Owl did none of that for me. I do not have anger or hatred towards women. I would not consider myself self-absorbed with a fascination with my own shadow. And all of that is laid into pretty heavily in The Blind Owl. So no, I did not find it disturbing. Also, for a work to be disturbing for me, I need it to be well written, even exceptionally well written. Beautiful writing is going to catch me off guard, is going to lure me into the darkness and entice me with a beautiful or inventive prose. And I didn't think that The Blind Owl had that going for it. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. There is a dreamy magical realism quality to it that reminded me a bit of Thomas Ligotti, but I think Thomas Ligotti does it much better, in my opinion. So as far as satisfying my craving for the disturbing, I would give The Blind Owl a low rating. On literary merits, I do like the ambition of the novella, and I think I could recommend it to the right reader, a reader who is studying world literature, As I said, I think it's a novella meant to be studied more so than simply read. So in an academic context, I can definitely see this work having merits. I would also recommend it to someone who is interested or well versed in Buddhism, especially the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I think they could get a lot out of this. I would also recommend it, or I think it would be a good read for fans of Morrissey. In the caricature, I imagine Morrissey fans to embody. My summary of the novella, which I wrote before I read the scholarly articles, my summary is: it's so painful to be alive. If only my shadow could understand me, but it can't. Nobody can. Leave me alone. Let me smoke my opium in peace. I hate women. They are all whores. They won't satisfy me. I will kill them. Woe is me. It's so painful to be alive. Well, I am not well versed in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, so that is essentially what I got out of the novella. I want to close with a question for you. When I was researching this work, I kept seeing it come up as a work of Persian literature by a Persian writer, Sadegh Hedayat, and that has me scratching my head. So I figured I'd crowdsource, put it out there and see if you guys can help me wrap my head around that. Sadegh Hedayat is from the country Iran, and he writes in the Persian language. So why is his work considered Persian literature? For example, in contrast, Mordecai Richler was from Canada. He wrote in English. We do not consider his work to be English literature. We consider it to be Canadian literature, right? Camrale was from Guinea. He wrote in French. He's not considered a French novelist. He's considered a Guinean or African writer. Okay? So why is Sadegh Hedayat considered a Persian writer and not an Iranian writer? That inconsistency has me baffled, to be honest with you. The country Persia was recognized officially as Iran in 1935. But even prior to that, the name Iran existed unofficially. But so Sadegh Hedayat was born maybe in Persia, but then it changed to Iran, and then. But that still doesn't hold up. You have Tsitsi Dangaremba, who was born in Rhodesia, which later became Zimbabwe. We think of her as a Zimbabwean novelist. No one calls Tsitsi Dangaremba a Rhodesian novelist, right? Ahmed Sadawi is an Iraqi author. No one ever calls him a Babylonian author. So why consistently was I coming across Sadegh Hedayat as a Persian writer writing Persian literature? I must be missing something, which wouldn't be the first time, right? If you have a theory or an explanation, please share. Help me sleep tonight, because I know that this inconsistency is going to keep me up. Do you have any experience with the blind owl? Did you manage to get more out of it than I did? I always love reading your comments. Whether you agree or you want to push back, it's all good. I benefit greatly from it, and I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you at the next video.